Checking out her abilities, I'm in awe of who this baby was. Honestly, my brain can't even process what she was capable of doing before she was 6 months old. Welcome to the kitchen table, where we laugh, cry, and spill all the tea while diving deep into stories that shape who we are. I'm Paige, a single Black mother, storyteller, and someone who's been on a lifelong journey of healing and growth. This podcast is a safe space for truth-telling, healing, and connection. Here, we'll explore how trauma and resilience have shaped my life and yours, and how we find joy and strength along the way. Before we get started, I want to check in and ask, how are you doing? If you've been rocking with me for a little while, you know that I was laid off from my job at the beginning of this year. And yes, I'm still unemployed, but we're figuring things out. I'm working through it. I am continuing to pour into myself, which is a beautiful thing. And it's not something that I feel like has happened to me, but something I feel is an opportunity. And wherever it takes me is going to be a beautiful thing. So I am walking in this season of growth, of transformation, and I'm leaning heavily into that. So I hope you're well. I want to say thank you for joining me and trusting me with your time. We've made it to episode 4, and in this time of my life, I am celebrating all the wins, small, big, it doesn't matter. I do want to say that we've reached 300 downloads on the Kitchen Table podcast, and I'm just so grateful that you all have tuned in with me and that you are listening, and some of the things that I am discussing are starting to resonate with you. And I can't wait to continue this journey with you. So thank you for rocking with me. Let's get into it. So it's time to grab your favorite mug, your teacup, or whatever it is that you're sipping from, because it's time for What's the Tea? This is the part of the podcast where we pour it all out, life lessons, personal stories, and maybe even a little side-eye worthy drama. Let's settle in, and here's what's brewing today. Mental and emotional well-being in children. Let's talk about it. So Harlem just celebrated her 4th birthday. I cannot believe that I have a 4-year-old. She is high energy, just all over spectacular, wonderful, tiny little human being. But as a mother to a spirited 4-year-old, I'm constantly learning and evolving as a mother, as a human. And over time, I have noticed signs of high anxiety in my daughter. And that's something that I'm deeply familiar with because I was diagnosed with anxiety as a teenager. But back when I received my diagnosis, mental health wasn't a topic that really anyone in my personal life took seriously. Not my mom, not my immediate family. And we didn't start taking it seriously until I was nearly an adult. And so this time around, I want to make sure that I do things differently. I believe that emotional well-being should be nurtured from birth, and I'm committed to ensuring that my daughter has the tools that she needs to thrive now and in the future. So let's get into it. Harlem just had her 4th birthday, which means she had her 4th well-being visit with her pediatrician. And I ended up speaking to my daughter's pediatrician about my concerns with her anxiety. I'm really glad that I had the conversation with them because they introduced me to a program that we can do together where we'll learn tools that she can use and tools that I can implement to help her work through her anxiety and to be able to get back to a place where she can emotionally regulate. And that's the first step in understanding what she needs. And then after we go through that program together, we'll decide if further therapy is necessary or if that's something that we want to discuss. Either way, at the end of the day, my goal is simple. It's to equip my child with the emotional tools that she needs to navigate life's challenges long before adulthood. So, a quick backstory about me. When I was diagnosed with anxiety, I was maybe 16, 17, but I didn't have the language or support to understand what I was feeling. And like I said, my mom didn't really take it seriously until it became undeniable. And anxiety can show up in people in many different ways. For me, I knew it was a problem when I started to experience it physically. And the heart palpitations that I started to have were uncontrollable, and they were happening every day, multiple times a day. I couldn't get a handle on what my trigger was, and I didn't even know much about what triggers were back then. But now I know better. I'm so glad that in my experience, even though it took a long time, that eventually my mom did start to lean into that, and she went with me to a doctor's appointment so that I could talk about what I was feeling, and she was even an advocate for me to take medication. I did end up taking medication for my anxiety for a small period of my life, and it was an as needed medication. So if I started to feel those physical symptoms, I could take the medication and it would help me come back down. And so I just want my daughter to know and grow up knowing that her feelings are valid and that there are healthy ways to navigate the world and you have options. And not saying that the anxiety is such a big problem for her that it is impacting her daily life, but there are signs and there are red flags. And because I am who I am, which is a clinically trained, super self aware human being, I'm so aware of myself that it's impossible for me not to be aware of what's going on with my child. But let's talk about ways that anxiety can show up, though. So, for me personally, anxiety showed up through perfectionism. And you'll learn pretty soon, actually, that perfectionism is a big theme in my life. And it's something that I've struggled with. I have said, I think, on this podcast now that I'm a recovering perfectionist. And I don't throw that out there lightly. It's real. I went into a complete silent identity crisis through my adolescence because of perfectionism. And it showed there were signs. I don't know if the people in my life knew that it was happening at the time that it was happening. Social media wasn't as big of a deal as it is right now. And so I wasn't able to be as vulnerable and transparent before the internet back then, but showed up in my behavior in school. So I was definitely a teacher's pet. And while it was like something that other people could poke fun at and be like, Paige is always going to do what she's supposed to do. Paige is a goodie. Or, Paige is always doing things for the teachers. People definitely talked about it, but I clung to my teachers, especially in high school. I would cling to a few teachers or staff. And part of that is because I cared so much about how I showed up or how I presented to adults. Now, don't get me wrong, like, I'm not ashamed of having been a teacher's pet, and I don't even regret being that way now. And part of me is still that way. I cling to certain authority figures, but at the end of the day, that helped me get to exactly where I needed to be. Like, those staff members and those teachers knew that I was dedicated, that I was dependable, that I was respectful, and that if they needed assistance doing something or they needed to make sure that somebody was on top of their game and knew their stuff, that it was me that they could turn to. And I loved that feeling. But that feeling was 100% birthed in trauma. And that perfectionism and being a teacher's pet, the way I showed up was my trauma response. I'm going to talk more in detail about how abandonment and abandonment issues present itself. And I believe that my issue with abandonment manifested through my anxiety, which showed up as perfectionism. So through my conversation with Harlem's pediatrician, I realized that early intervention and open communication is absolutely the key. And though this isn't something that I hear people having conversations about, it's something that I want to talk about and something that I want to dive into because it's been bothering me for a while. And I know that I'm not making up her symptoms. I just want to make sure that I pay attention to things in detail so that I have a good handle on it. So I will definitely check back in after Harlem and I have worked through some of this program together. Now, I have already implemented many things with Harlem when it comes to being able to emotionally regulate. Like I said, I believe that emotional and mental well-being is nurtured from birth. And I have been empowering my child since the day that I gave birth to her. And that's something that I'm super proud of. But taking this extra step means everything to me. I want to model for my daughter what it means to prioritize your mental health, even when it's hard. And I don't want her to feel shame about things that make her who she is or things that she's experiencing. I want her to know that it's okay to be anxious. It's okay to be nervous. It's okay to feel your feelings and work through them. But what's most important is what you do with that. If you're a parent or a caregiver, I encourage you to pay attention to the small signs. Anxiety in children doesn't always have to look like panic, but it can be perfectionism or stomach aches and clinginess. And I just want to give my daughter the tools that I wish that I had coming up. So let me just dive into some of what I believe Harlem is experiencing. So I know that I gave birth to an advanced human being. Harlem crawled before she was even 5 months old. Like she was sitting up unassisted and then began to crawl before she turned 5 months old. And at 5 months old, she was standing up unassisted. Now, I have a COVID baby, and we all like to say, oh, these COVID babies are different. I believe it. But now that I'm processing it with her being newly 4 years old and seeing what she's capable of now and with adults, which was mostly my mom because my mom cared for her when I went back to work. And then I ended up being at home with her for a period of time before I got another job after I had quit my job, which if you listened to the last episode, you heard a little bit about that story. But I spent a significant amount of time with her, and I'm so grateful for that. So Harlem developed language pretty early, and not only language, but just being able to express herself creatively through singing and dancing. I'm so grateful for the way that my mom nurtured her as an infant. I have the type of mom that believes that you treat the baby like you do any other human being, and so you talk to them. We didn't use too much baby talk. There wasn't a whole lot of babbling, but we just modeled life for her. And I'm grateful for that because I think that has a lot to do with how she has developed. And I love that for us. But she did all of these things so early and is an exceptional 4-year-old now, just so talented, so smart, emotionally intelligent, self-aware. But there are some red flags. And this is a vulnerable moment for me because nobody wants to sit down and say, hey, I'm going to admit to the world that I'm noticing that my child has inherited some of my mess, right? Some of the things that I know that I have. And it's hard to admit that because then you have to admit what you already know about yourself. And listen, I'm gonna be the first one to tell you that your girl is anxious. The social anxiety, the test anxiety in college, I've got it. I'm a poster child for being anxious. I get worked up over little things, especially after puberty, how that all happened. Yeah, I'm high anxiety. I would talk to my mom on the phone all the time. And the majority of the time, it was because I needed my mom to talk me down or talk me off of whatever ledge I was on that day. Yeah, there are signs. So, how the signs that I notice in Harlem, the signs that I notice in Harlem, she's always been really clingy. I refer to my child as a helicopter child. Like, I'm not a helicopter parent, but she's a helicopter child. She definitely struggled with some separation anxiety. We breastfed up until she was 2.5 years old. And honestly, the only reason we stopped at that time was because we knew my mom was passing and I sent Harlem to go stay with my sister for 3 days. And after those 3 days, I decided that I had to say no so that we could stop at that point in time. So definitely was skin to skin. We bonded. We spent a lot of time together. I sent her to a preschool program when she was 2.5. It was the week after my mom went into the hospital when she got sick before she passed. And that was Harlem's first experience, like being in that setting with other younger kids her age and having a teacher and having that kind of structure. And she just excelled. But she quickly became a model child. And I know what that's like because I think for the majority of my childhood and adolescence, like I can remember the time where I became the model child. And it's happening super early for Harlem. She's super kind, she's super caring, she's thoughtful, she pays attention to detail, but she's already a perfectionist. And so at 3 years old, being upset that you're not coloring inside the lines is crazy to me. because you shouldn't care about that at 3 years old. Also, there was, an incident with her at school where they're learning how to use scissors at this age. They're working on their motor skills, and she's learning how to use scissors, and they called me because Harlem started shaking. Like, they were honestly, nervous that she might be experiencing some kind of tremor because Harlem's hands were just shaking uncontrollably, and I ended up taking her to the pediatrician. We talked it through. We found out later that, like, she was just low-key having a panic attack because she wasn't cutting the way that she wanted to cut. It wasn't perfect. The fact that my now 4-year-old has an idea of perfection is bothersome to me, but she goes the extra mile. So we have an awesome program here that provides athletic programming to children as young as age 3. So at age 3, I know I've got this exceptional child. Like, both her dad and I were athletes and we competed at the college level. So, like, we just knew we were going to have us a little athlete. So Harlem started playing soccer as soon as she turned 3 years old. I think the season started like a month later. And there was a little bit of a learning curve with learning the goal of the game. But once she figured out what the goal of the game was, there's no stopping her. But if she's not the best on the field, or she loves to be a goalie, they don't have goalies at this age, but she decided she knew what a goalie was and that she was going to protect that goal, and she takes defense very seriously. And so if someone scores a goal while she's standing in that goalpost defending the goal, falls apart. So there are a few things that we started practicing because I quickly realized that things that should be fun and light and easy are actually really heavy for Harlem. And that breaks my heart as a parent because I want you to enjoy yourself. I want you to do things that are fun for you. And the things that she enjoys are the things that she falls apart about. So it's not like I'm forcing something onto my kid that she doesn't want to do. That's not the case. She loves playing sports. She's super athletic. She loves being outside. She loves running. She loves to race. She just has this competitive spirit about her, but a competitive spirit that I believe that she developed too soon. And so it's really easy to get wrapped up in the sports and things. She loves it. But if she does not win, or if she thinks that she did any less than her best, or if she thinks that she was any less than perfect, she falls to pieces. And it makes me emotional because I don't want things that she should be enjoying to be hard for her. I don't want her to have that experience yet. And so I struggle with that a little bit. And we started practicing a few different things to help her regulate her emotions while she's learning. Because at the end of the day, I know my kid, she's a toddler. She just turned 4. But like, when this was happening, she was 3 years old. So at the end of the day, no matter how advanced she is, no matter how intelligent she is or self-aware, she's still 3 and she still has the developing brain of a 3-year-old. So I started putting some things into practice. So like when she's getting upset in the soccer game, and there were times where I had to take Harlem out of the soccer game because she just she couldn't regulate. So we started doing a let's blow out your candlestick. So you hold up your finger and you gotta blow to blow out the candlestick. So you're taking a deep breath, right? Take a deep breath, focus on your candlestick, blow it out. And then let's get back into the game, right? That worked wonders for her. And so that was like the first thing that I was like, okay, so we need to put some tools in our toolkit for times like this. Now, Harlem's not one of those kids that like has public meltdowns, or if I say it's time to go, she might like whine and cry a little bit, but she doesn't typically have those experiences where she's like causing a scene in public. Or she might do it at home, don't get me wrong, but she's not one of those openly, I feel safe enough to do this in public type of kids, right? And seeing this happen to her on the soccer field, I'm like, oh, she's having a hard time if this is what's happening, because this is not the norm for her. So I started doing the candlestick method and it worked really well. But just that incident at school, and then caring how she shows up for her teachers and how she shows up for people, she just worries about it so much. And the questions that she asks me, and she's always, am I doing it right? Or, Mom, is this good? Mom, is this perfect? Like, she's always seeking that validation. And yes, normal for a child to do. They're always going to seek our validation. But what I'm saying is that I'm noticing that it's happening on a level that is a bit too far for her age. Like I said, coloring inside of the lines. Like when she's writing her name, she can write her name and her R is a little bit wonky and she's already super self-conscious about that and recognizes, wait a minute, my R isn't up to par with the rest of my letters, so much that she'll write the rest of her name and then ask for help to write the R. But like I would rather her say, oh, I just need to keep practicing on my R's. Or you're 3 years old. Who cares what your R's look like? You have so much time to care about all these things. At the end of the day, I just want to make sure that I'm giving my kid the tools and the courage that she needs to navigate this. And this, we may find that she'll never have a diagnosis where they're diagnosing her with an anxiety disorder. And I'm not saying that I'm hoping to receive a diagnosis. I'm saying that it's never too early to start teaching mental health and emotional well-being and emotional regulation. I don't believe that it's something that we have to wait to learn, that when you're an adult and you have an incident or there's an episode and you can't self-regulate. I believe that you should already have the tools in your toolkit. You should already have the knowledge that you need to be able to work through that. And at minimum, just the ability to be so self-aware that you recognize what's happening and then you can seek whatever it is that you need to seek for that. So that's really important for me. So I'm excited about the season that we're walking into. Harlem is getting older. She's doing more. She's in more activities and she's feeling more feelings. And so I have fostered an environment where I can sit down with my child and we can talk about our feelings, how we're feeling in the moment. I also give her the space that if she's not ready to discuss something, then we can discuss it at a later date. So when she's having an emotional meltdown, I ask her, do you want to talk about it? No, I'm not ready. Can you let me know when you're ready and we can talk about it? Yes, mama. And then maybe 5 minutes later, sometimes it's hours later, she'll say, Mama, I'm just upset because of X, Y, and Z. And I'll give you an example. She'll say something along the lines of, Mama, I'm just upset because I just couldn't draw the heart perfectly. And I just want to be able to get it perfect. And then I will talk through that it doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to draw a perfect heart. But if this is something that is important to you, then we can just keep practicing on how to draw a heart until you're satisfied. And so it's important for me to not shut down the feeling that she's having when she's having the feeling, right? If your goal is to be able to draw a perfect heart the way you want to draw a perfect heart, then I'm not going to tell you that you don't have to reach that goal. What I am going to tell you that if you want something bad enough or you want to do something, then it's going to take the work. You have to put the work in to get to it. And I did the same thing with her in soccer, she wants to be the only one to score a goal. She's getting upset when her teammates are scoring. If you want to be the one that scores a goal, you don't have to be, because that's why we're part of a team. Sometimes we have to let our friends win too, and we celebrate our friends' wins. But if you want to score just as many goals or more goals, you're going to have to do the work and practice so that you can get from this side of the field to the other side of the field to score the goal. Same thing as a goalie. She doesn't want anybody to score on her. You're doing great as a goalie right now, and you're going to continue to get better and better the more you work at it. If you want to be the best goalie that there is, then it takes practice. You're going to have to work at that. And so for me, it's finding the balance of how do I protect her mental and emotional well-being while also teaching her real life lessons, because we know as adults that if we want something, we have to work for it. If we want something bad enough, we have to put in the work for it. Does that mean you have to put yourself under an amount of pressure that's bad for your mental health? No. Do you have to do something to get from point A to point Z? Absolutely. Do you have to jeopardize your mental and emotional well-being? No. Do you need tools in your toolkit to be able to self-regulate, to be able to push yourself and be challenged, and also to be resilient enough to come back from it? Failure is a part of success. We're never going to succeed if we don't learn what it's like to fail. And I'm currently in a season where I'm learning this balance. And if that means that I have to seek help or services or resources for my daughter so that I can be better equipped to teach her what it is that I need to teach her, then that's exactly what I'm going to do. And I was nervous to get on this podcast and discuss this because I know that there might be naysayers who say that I'm overreacting or I'm putting something onto her that doesn't exist. And I disagree. Like I said, I'm a very self aware human being and I know what the signs were in me and they went unnoticed. And I could have had a different story had I been aware of what was happening when it was happening and that I had what I needed to be able to work through it. And then I wouldn't have had to go through a season of an identity crisis, a season of depression, a season of feeling inadequate or feeling like I'm not good enough. And even now, experiencing imposter syndrome and just not believing that I'm the best person for the job when deep down inside, I know that I am, right? So we use a lot of different things. And at the age of 3, 4 years old, already having the ability to have that negative self-talk, I'm trying to throw that out. Like, that's trash. We are positive self-talk only. And that's one of the reasons why I created affirmation cards for my daughter. It was something that I always knew that I wanted to do. As soon as I found out I was having a little girl, I was like, oh, bet we're going to start empowering her as soon as she comes out. She's going to know that she's that girl. And I don't want to I don't want to come off cocky or conceited about mine, but she's going to know that she's that girl. And no matter what she does, I want her to know that she is capable of anything that she wants to do. The sky is the limit. The possibilities are endless. It's so important for me to build her up. For me, it's all about giving my daughter the tools that I wish that I had at a young age and just knowledge is power. And the more you know, the more you grow. And I want to raise a self aware, emotionally intelligent human being. That's the goal for me. I feel like having this conversation about mental health and emotional well being in children is so important. And I really feel like it's a conversation that we're not having often enough. And I'm not hearing anybody really discuss it either, unless we're talking about children with severe behavioral issues or severe mental health issues, or maybe they're awaiting a diagnosis of being on the spectrum. I have not felt confident bringing this topic in public to talk about my child's anxiety, especially when I have such a high performing toddler. I'm a little bit self conscious about it because I feel like other moms might look at me like, oh, but your kid is perfect. So why would you, like, how do you have complaints? And see, for me, that's the problem right there because the amount of times that I've received compliments and people asking me what I'm doing as a parent differently. I'm just out here trying to figure it out. Like, you too, like, it's literally day by day for us. And I often feel some type of way about this because, like I said, it's the balance, right? Like, I want to be able to brag about my kid without putting too much pressure on my kid for how she shows up. I want other people to be able to brag about my kid without putting that pressure onto her. And she's noticing the pressure. And that's what all of this is about. But it's so important. And I definitely want to know if there are other parents out there that notice high anxiety early on in their children. If you have a child who you knew had an issue with anxiety or was very high anxiety as a little one, 5 and under, I want to hear about it. I want to talk about it. I want to know if this resonates with anyone. If you could leave a comment or send an email, that would be great. I would love to continue to talk about this because nurturing this in my kid, nurturing who she is right now is so important to me. I now want to introduce a segment that we call At the Table. This is where I shine a light on someone who's doing something incredible or just needs a little recognition. And today I'm going to highlight a very special person in my life, a mom and a mentor who's been in my life since I was about 12 years old. We met after my family experienced some trauma. And since that day, we've never lost touch. And outside of my own mom, so much of what I know about parenting comes from her example. I have watched her closely through her journey in young adulthood into motherhood, and just the way that she has navigated life's challenges with grace is so admirable to me. And so I want to highlight Laren Anderson, a wonderful human being. If you are local and you've had a chance to sit down and have a conversation with Lauren, just pick her brain about anything. To me, she's so knowledgeable about life, and being able to be a clinically trained mental health professional. And if mental health is your expertise, it's so powerful to me to be able to translate that into your own personal and family life. So it's one thing to know the tools and be able to implement those tools with strangers, but it's another to live by them, especially when it's with the people that are closest to you. And as a parent, being able to take what you know about people, what you know about the mind, what you know about the world, and pour into your children and the people around you, it's just a beautiful and powerful thing. And it's a powerful thing to watch. And that's really where I get a lot of what I implement with my own daughter was from watching her raise her daughters. And her encouragement and wisdom have been a guiding light for me as I navigate raising my own child. And I know that if there's ever a time where I have questions or I'm questioning my parenting, or there's something that I want to tap into, there's something that I want to explore, that I can go to Laren. And I'm just super grateful to have somebody like her as a part of my village. She's always reminding me that when you know better, you do better. And even when I am feeling less than or somewhat inadequate as a parent or just as a human being, she reminds me who I am. And so I'm grateful to have her presence in my life and in my daughter's life, just somebody that I can look up to in many different ways. And so, Laren, I want to say thank you. I want to tell you that I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for your friendship, the sisterhood, the motherhood. I'm grateful for your vulnerability and always being willing to tell me your story so that I can learn a lesson. I'm grateful for your listening ear, for the many times that I have had to just dump what I was going through or what I was experiencing onto you. I think you are a wonderful human being and one of my favorite people who walks the face of this earth. And so today I want to give you your flowers. I want the world to know how wonderful of a human being you are, how wonderful of a mom you are, how wonderful of a mentor you are. And I always wish you well. I wish you nothing but life and life abundantly. There's so much more in store for who you are as a person, and I love you so much. If this episode has resonated with you, I would love to hear from you. You can subscribe, leave a review, leave a comment down below, or share this podcast with somebody who needs to hear it. I love to hear the stories about your kitchen table, and you can email me at thecavetablepodcast@gmail.com or connect with me on Instagram at PaigeGalloway_. So that's PaigeGalloway_, and share what this space has meant to you. If you are somebody who's been struggling with understanding anxiety, either in yourself or in your young children, I'd love to connect with you. I'd love to hear about some of the tools that you're adding to your little one's toolkit. I'd love to hear about some of the things that you're doing and the steps that you're taking to better the mental and emotional well-being of your child. Thank you so much for being here and trusting me with your time. I can't wait to continue to grow with you, laugh with you, heal with you. Keep showing up, keep healing, and remember, the kitchen table is always open and there's always a seat for you. Until next time, take care.
It's time for Harlem's Hot Takes. Hi, I'm Harlem. Listen up, because I have something to tell you.
Hi, Harlem. Thank you so much for joining us on your first episode of the Kitchen Table Podcast. How are you today?
I'm good.
Is it okay if I ask you a few questions today?
It's good.
They already know your name. Can you tell us how old you are?
I'm 4.
Oh, you just turned 4, right? You just had a birthday this week? Happy birthday to you, Harlem. What's your favorite part about being 4?
My favorite part is about being 4 is having a great day and saying hello people at my birthday party. Also to celebrate me every day.
I love that you feel so celebrated. Somebody special recently celebrated you.
Cynthia.
Cynthia Erivo sent you a special happy birthday message. What do you want to say to Cynthia?
That I love her.
You're so nice and kind. Is it okay if I ask you a few more questions before we go today? What is your favorite thing to do for fun?
My favorite thing is to do for fun is having great days and giving people laughs and encouragement stories.
Why is it important to be kind to our friends?
Because if you be kind, they be kind to you. If they don't be kind, then they won't be kind to you.
Okay, got it. How can you make someone smile today?
To make some, I give them big hugs.
What do you want to tell the people before we go, Harlem?
Tell the people that it's okay to make mistakes.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Harlem. I can't wait till next time when we have another Harlem's Hot Takes. Bye.